most of Frederick I wrote in the summer of 1965. Byron I wrote in 1975, 10 years later. Byron is I use the same device, which is a device by which you are able to go through all of a person's life, or you're able to span a person's life. With Byron, the same thing that I mentioned to you before, the past and the present intersecting. With Byron, a theater in Virginia, Virginia Museum Theater, had done several plays of mine. And my friend Keith Fowler, who was the artistic director, says, well, we're doing an all-British season, so I can't do a play of yours. But I've got an empty slot. Do you know a British play? I said, I'll write you a British play. He said, all right, what? And my friend Virgil Thompson was writing his opera about Byron, and I had gone to hear some excerpts from it and so on. I said, I'll write a play about Byron. And he said, oh, that's an interesting idea. And I said, yeah, you know, Byron was a great rock star. He was like Mick Jagger, more popular than Mick Jagger. I'll do that. He said, all right. So then I said, oh, okay, now I got to write a play about Byron. But I had always liked Byron's poetry. So I began to read Childe Harold, and I read these devastating lines that Byron wrote to his daughter, his legitimate daughter, whom he saw only once as a baby before he went into exile, and who he was separated from. Well, my daughter Laura, the actress, is her mother and I were separated and divorced when she was a baby. So these lines just, you know, laid me out. And I looked up the life of Byron's legitimate daughter. This was in 1975. There was no book about her. Now there are about 4 or 5 biographies. She became the she financed a British inventor named Babbage, who was the inventor of the computer. He invented a big mechanical thing called the analytical engine. And when miniaturization came in, that became, Babbage is really the inventor of the computer. And while we were doing Byron in Louisville, a man came up in a sort of nice business-like suit, and he said to the wonderful actress who was playing Ada, said, do you know that there's a language named after you now? And there is a computer language named Ada. It brings military things in and out, something like that.